So in last session, we just learned one thing, that is a perceptron algorithm. Now, what is perceptron algorithm? It is just it's an algorithm to just train or mimic a neuron. Okay, mimic like human brain neuron. We have an algorithm that is actually perceptron. So what we learn in this algorithm, we learn a simple thing, like we have, it's an iterative algorithm. We have to just go with two nested loops. The first loop, either we have to execute for n times. First loop, either we have to execute m times, or guys, we have to just set a threshold. So we have two options. Either we have to set a threshold, or we have to execute the first loop or outer loop for m times. Okay, that we will discuss later on. And what about the second loop? Second loop for each and every record. So if you have 100 records, then the inner loop you have to execute for 100 times. If you have 50 records, then inner loop you have to execute for 50 times. And what we have to pass to inner loop, first thing we have to just pass x bar, that means x vector, that means a feature vector. Second thing is nothing but ei, that's actually like output value or labeled value or class value we have to pass. Okay, now what we have to do inside that, predict the output, that is yi, and use that weighted matrix, which already they said, weighted vector, not the metric matrix. That is a weighted vector, otherwise weight vector you can say. Just use that and compute the next vector for the next record or a next instance, and just try to like decrease the, otherwise try to find vector. So that's the concept, and that was actually proposed in 1962. So now let me take an example of this perceptron algorithm. So here I have 4 different points. So 2 blue points and 2 red points. Okay, 2 blue points and 2 red points. So now let me do one thing. Let me just draw this. Otherwise, let me just create a table. And guys, just consider we have 4 points. Let I just label them 1, 2, 3, and 4. But how many features in each and every point? जैसे मैं ये first point consider करूँ, so I have 2 features, that is -1, -1. Okay, that is actually known as x1 coordinate and x2 coordinate. You can just say that x and y coordinate, but यहाँ मैं लिख रहा हूँ x1 and x2. x1 in the sense this horizontal, bottom horizontal line, and what about x2, that is actually left vertical. So here we have 2 features actually, that is actually -1, -1. The first feature's name is the consider, that is x1. Second feature name, let me consider, that is x2. Okay, and let I just write down, and we have one output value also. Okay, that output value is consider. Like consider we have actually 2 colors actually, either blue color or red color. So that let I just say that is actually t. Okay, that is actually t. So like first value, that is actually -1, x1 value and x2 value are -1, -1 for actually blue. And here I just mentioned blue, consider blue is nothing but a -1 and red means 0. In short, I have 2 class labels, red and blue. What I consider, red means 0, blue means -1. So I just put the -1. So that is nothing but in our data set. And what about the second point? Second point मैं इस तरीके से guys इस flow में जा रहा हूँ, मतलब clockwise direction में जा रहा हूँ. So second point is also -1 and half, -1 and 1/2, and that is also a blue one, so -1. Output value is -1. Here we have 1/2 and 1, and output value is red, that means 0. The next one is actually 1 and 1/2. The output value is red, that means actually that is 0. ये मैंने 0 and -1 कहाँ से लाया? I just consider that thing. Consider blue means -1 and red means 0. Consider blue means -1 and red means 0. That's that. Okay, so I just create an actually input matrix. So this is my feature matrix. You can say that, otherwise it is my input data. So I have 4 points and I want to do this. Now the next thing is, let us just clear this thing. Okay, so now this is the data. Now guys, as we know, in neuron we have 2 types of function. Integration function. What about the second function? Second function is actually activation function. The first function. We have 2 functions. The first one is integration function. Second is activation function. So integration function क्या करेगा? It just combine all this data, or like it just combine all the points, all the features, and actually like multiplied by the like weighted vector. That means it will be something like that. Okay, sum of wi xi. And what about the value of I? So in this I have two features for each and every point. So value of I will be actually from 1 to 2. Okay, I का value में 1 से 2 तक लिखा. So what about the value of weighted? What is the value of it? We will consider anything for initial stage. हम लोग weight की value कुछ भी consider कर सकते हैं. Let I consider 0 1. Why 0 and 1 two values? Because I have two features. Okay, so we require two weight we require. If we have 5 features, then we require a weight vector with the size of 5. So here let me consider the value of weight is 0 and 1 by default. So what activation function will do? Activation function having actually a threshold. That means what? Like if your integration function's value is greater than some value, then just say yes, otherwise say no. अगर हम step function use करें, so step activation function क्या करता था कि अगर मेरा threshold का value, threshold क्या, अगर मेरे integration function का outcome अगर 5 से greater आ रहा है, just say yes. अगर 5 से slow, like 5 से lower आ रहा है, just say no. So that's up to you. मैंने जैसे 5 set किया, that's up to you. You can just set any threshold. We will learn that also. But right now, let I consider my threshold is nothing but a 0. Okay, threshold is nothing but a 0. मतलब activation function का मैं 0 के साथ comparison करना. So integration function का जो outcome आएगा, उसका इसका answer मैं 0 से compare करूँगा. If the answer is greater than 0, let I say that's a red point. If answer is less than equal to 0, let I say that's a blue. Okay, जब मैं input करूँ wi xi, I just apply a function. तो function कैसे देखना है? That's actually wi xi. What will be the value? That is a threshold value. We can just tune that parameter. But right now I consider, for the simplicity, I consider the threshold value is 0. तो जैसे मैं wi और xi की value put करूँगा, मुझे answer जो भी मिलेगा, according to that I will predict, oh, either there is a red or there is a blue. And guys, ये predict वाला concept मैं क्यों बता रहा हूँ? Because firstly we have to predict. Okay, just focus on that. We have to predict, and using that prediction value and actual value. What is the actual value? This ti is the actual value. Okay, that ti is the actual value. So इन दोनों का difference निकालेंगे, that is the error, and according to that error we will just change the value of weighted vector. We will just change the value of weighted vector. Okay, so that is the simplest algorithm. Okay, so now what is my requirement? What's my threshold? My threshold is 0. My threshold is 0. So wi xi equals to 0. So if greater than 0 is the answer, अगर इसका आंसर ग्रेटर देन 0 आ रहा है, व्हाट आई एम थिंकिंग कि अगर सर मेरा wi xi का आंसर ग्रेटर देन इक्वल टू, लेट मी कंसीडर इक्वल टू आल्सो, देन आउटपुट इज रेड. ये मैंने एल्गोरिथम खुद से सोचा. अगर wi xi का आंसर लेस देन 0 आ रहा है, देन आउटपुट इज ब्लू. That is my concept. ऐसा मैंने सोच के चला. Okay, so that's my yi value. So हमने red and actually blue के लिए कुछ आंसर पहले से सेट कर रखा है. Red means what? Red means according to us that is 0. Blue means what? Blue means according to us that is actually -1. That is actually a -1. Okay, so यहाँ पे red आया, मतलब मैं ऐसा बोलूँगा, oh, my outcome is 0. And मुझे blue मिला, that means I will say, oh, outcome is actually -1. So that I will predict. So that's actually a yi value. According to my algorithm, that is yi value. Ti value is already I in the sense that like अगर जब आप first record के लिए काम कर रहे हैं, so value of t is -1. Okay, you have to just actually find the value of yi. You have a ti is available. yi हम लोग find out करेंगे, ये algorithm में ये formula में value put करेंगे, we will get a new w. Again, we have to just repeat this process. So now let me start. Okay, so I hope यहाँ तक clear है. So like ये function में कहाँ से लाया? तो हम लोगों ने पहले से fix किया था. That is nothing but an integration function. This is nothing but our integration function. Okay, so let me start. So now, as I just told you in last session also, just ignore this line. Right now, just ignore that. Okay, so now what's our function? Our function just say, okay, wi xi is equals to 0. 0 में कहाँ से लाया, guys? That's my threshold value. Okay, that is my threshold value. So, and w, what I consider, this is the value of w. Okay, so w की value मैंने consider is 0 1. Why two values are there? Why the vector of size 2? Because the simple thing is I have two features. मेरे पास यहाँ पे दो features थे, इसलिए मैंने क्या काम काज किया? I just said a value of otherwise the vector size of W is 2. Okay, इसलिए मैंने उसका size 2 रखा. Now what we will do? Let me put the value of x. Sorry, let me put the value of W. So पहले W की value 0, x की value मेरे पास थी नहीं तो मैं x1 consider कर रहा हूँ. W की value like second W की value 1 and I have not a value of x2 so मैंने उसके लिए x2 as it is रखा and finally answer is 0. So what I got, I just find the value, the x2 is equals to 0. x2 is equals to 0. Guys देखो ये तो 0 हो गया था मल्टीप्लिकेशन से तो मेरा x2 का वैल्यू क्या मिला, that is actually 0. So अगर मैं इस इंटीग्रेशन फंक्शन को यूज करूं देन मुझे एक्चुअली एक मॉडल चाहिए, मुझे एक सिंपल सा मॉडल चाहिए बिकॉज दिस इज माय मॉडल जो मुझे प्रेडिक्ट करके देगा, कि सर आपका जो भी आप इनपुट रखोगे उसके हिसाब से आपका आउटकम क्या आएगा. सो माय मॉडल जस्ट से सर x2 equals to 0 and x2 equals to 0, that's actually like line algorithm, like line formula. Just recall kariye y equal to mx plus c, y equals to mx plus c, so that is x2 equals to 0 matlab that's a line parallel to actually xx. So this is x2 equals to 0, this line is x2 equals to 0. So that is my model, this horizontal black line, it's actually my model. Okay, for actually weight 0 and 1. For this one, this weight, that is nothing but my like my model actually. Okay, so now what we have to do, let me just start with our points. So my first point, that is actually minus 1. This is my first point, that is actually minus 1. Let me just apply, let me just put this put this values minus 1 into wixi model. Okay, so this is wixi, इसके अंदर हम वैल्यू रखते हैं. So what will be the outcome? It just says 0 into -1 because हमारा पहला x1 अभी -1 है. Okay, like second one is 1 into -1. What is the outcome, guys? So output is actually -1. Output is actually -1. So either you can use this formula और आपने जो मॉडल फाइंड आउट हम लोगों ने किया आप उसका भी यूज कर सकते हैं. Okay, so दोनों चीज में एक्सप्लेन कर रहा हूँ वन बाय वन. पहले मैं फॉर्मूला यूज कर रहा हूँ. What is my formula? My integration formula just says that wixi, sigma, otherwise summation from 1 to 2 wixi. That's my formula. Now, if the answer is greater than or equal to 0, just predict red. If answer is less than 0, just predict blue. Just predict blue. So answer क्या मिल रहा है? Answer is less than 0. So I will predict, oh, this is nothing but a blue. This is a blue point. So what is the value? So yi, just say it is a blue value. So what will be the value of yi? We just consider one thing. Blue means what? Blue means -1. Blue means what? Blue means -1. So yi value is -1. What about the ti value? Ti just say, oh sir, my value is also -1. Ti also just say that's -1. Ti may be -1 ही था. So now let me just go to our algorithm. So yi and ti value having this, yi and ti having the same value. So there is no error. जो actual value थी वही हमने predict किया. जो actual value थी वही हमने predict किया. Okay, so there is no error at all. So this term will be 0. Ti minus yi is actually 0. So 0 into eta, 0 into x vector, that's actually 0. So wn plus 0, that means that's wn. So we have actually a same weighted vector for the next record. Okay, same weighted vector for the next record. So हम लोग को same weighted vector use करना है. That means I will just use 0 1 w of 0 in short 0 and 1. That is my weighted vector. I will use the same weighted vector for the next point. Okay, इस point के लिए भी मैं same weighted vector use करूँगा. Is this clear to everyone? यहाँ तक पता चला. So I just use integration function. To predict the outcome, and I got actually predicted value and actual value. I just got the same value in actual and predicted. So I will not modify. I will not change my actually weighted vector. So now the next thing is, अगर हम लोग ये formula use ना करें, हम लोगों ने एक model develop किया था. And what is my model? That is actually a line, and the value of that model is actually x2 equals to 0. That is actually x2 equals to 0. So guys, इसमें हम normally ऐसा बोल सकते हैं, x2 equals to 0 means this horizontal line. तो जो भी point को मैं predict करूँ, जैसे इस first point के लिए मैं work करूँ, जो पहला blue point था, उसके लिए हम work करें. What is the coordinates? Coordinates say like x1 is actually -1 and x2 is actually -1. x1 is actually -1, x2 is actually -1. So x2 is -1, that means it is less than this x2 equals to 0. That is less than this x2 equals to 0. मतलब उसके down में आएगा. उसके down में आएगा. उसके down में आने का मतलब the value is actually negative. The value is actually negative. The outcome value is actually negative. Outcome value is actually negative in the sense उसका actual value भी negative था. Predicted value is also negative. predicted value is also negative. In the sense मैंने ऐसे क्यों बोला, because ये horizontal line x equals to 0 है, x2 equal to 0, उससे bottom में जितनी भी वैल्यू होती है वो नेगेटिव होती है, उससे ऊपर जितना भी वैल्यू होता है पॉजिटिव होता है as per the coordinate system. ओके, तो उसके डाउन में आया मतलब आउटकम इज एक्चुअली नेगेटिव, predicted value is actually negative, actual value is also negative. Okay, predicted and actual value having same, so we will not change the w. But still, if that is tough, otherwise वो समझ में नहीं आ रहा, then we can just go with our algorithm. Okay, हम हमारे algorithm के साथ चलते. So now let me just go with this next point. So same weight I will use. Now what is the point? The feature value is actually -1 and 1/2. -1 and 1/2. So let me just do one thing, 0 into -1 and 1 into 1/2. So let me find the value. So that's actually half. Is it less than 0 or greater than 0? It is greater than 0. It is greater than 0. Greater than 0 in the sense outcome is red. Outcome is red. Because हम लोगों ने पहले ही फिक्स किया था, ग्रेटर देन इक्वल्स टू 0 मतलब क्या, ग्रेटर देन इक्वल्स टू 0 मतलब रेड. हमने ये पहले प्रेडिक्शन मतलब पहले ही एज्यूम करके रखा था कि मुझे इसी तरीके से मॉडल चाहिए कि ग्रेटर देन इक्वल्स टू 0 दिया, आई विल जस्ट प्रेडिक्ट रेड, लेस देन 0 दिया, आई विल प्रेडिक्ट ब्लू. सो नाउ इट जस्ट प्रेडिक्ट रेड इन द सेंस व्हाट, इट जस्ट प्रेडिक्ट 0. रेड इन द सेंस पहले से हमने फिक्स किया था, इट जस्ट प्रेडिक्ट 0. सो दिस इज माय yi value. Why I just say, oh, that's actually 0. What TI says, oh sir, that was blue, actually that is blue. So TI say that is -1. So now let me move to the formula. So guys, this is the formula. Right now we have a problem. So this is the formula. What we have to do, we have to just find out the new vector. Okay, so vector में actually मेरे पास new weighted vector we required. So दो value थी मेरे पास vector में. So we have to just find out two different values. Okay, so let me just do, let me just apply the existing value. Let me input the existing value and find the new value. So wn, उसमें से मैं पहला value ले रहा हूँ 0. So here I have a 0. Eta value I just considered 1/3. I just told you in last session eta value will be in between 0 and 1. So I just consider that is 1/3. So that's my eta value. What about ti? Ti just say that's -1. Ti मुझे क्या मिला था? That is -1. That is actual value. What is the predicted value? Predicted value just say, oh sir, predicted value is greater than equal to 0 था, that will I will predict red, and red को मैंने actually 0. So predicted value is 0. So -1 minus 0, -1 minus 0, that is -1. So I just write the -1 here into xi. So what are the coordinates? Coordinate value is actually -1 and 1/2. So firstly, let me just take the first value, that is -1. Okay, just compute all this. So -1 into -1, that is +1, +1 into 1/3, that's 1/3 plus 0, that is 1. So that's the first value. Now let me just put the second values. So that is 1. यहाँ पे focus करें. That is 1. W में से second value ले रहा हूँ. That is 1. So here there is a 1 plus 1/3. That's the eta value. This -1 is actually ti minus yi. Ti is actually -1. Ti is actually -1. Just consider on this. Ti is actually -1. Yi is actually 0. That's the predicted. So -1 minus 0, that is -1. What about this 1/2? That 1/2 is actually a coordinate. Here it is. That 1/2 is actually a coordinate. So here we have. Let me just solve this equation. So 1 minus 1/6. That means so 5/6. So this is a next value. That is the next weighted value. Okay. Why we just find the next weighted vector? Because here we have a problem. This is actually wrongly classified. Okay, this term is actually wrongly classified, so we have to find out the next one. Is it clear to you? Guys, is there any problem? Vijay sir, Maulik sir, Prithvish?
सर रॉन्गली क्लासिफाइड की हुआ पता नहीं चला हुआ आपने.
ओके
1/3 and 5/6 तक तो पता चला.
नहीं ठीक है, फाइन. ये जब मैंने वैल्यूज रखी, व्हाट आर द फीचर वैल्यू? द फीचर वैल्यू इज -1 and 1/2.
ओके,
ठीक है, फीचर वैल्यू इज -1 and 1/2. व्हाट इज द वेट वैल्यू? दैट इज 0 and 1.
यस
प्रीवियसली हाँ. तो ये जो मेरा वेट का वैल्यू था उसको आप यहाँ यूज करें. So 0 into -1. Why -1? Because the first feature value is -1. So that is 0. 1 into 1/2. So answer is 1/2. Okay, now what was our algorithm? What was our algorithm? Just focus on this. Let me just change the color. Just focus on this. This is my algorithm. This is my algorithm. ये क्या बता रहा है? Wixi greater than equals to 0, I will predict red. Wixi greater than equals to 0, I will predict red. Okay, and Wixi less than 0, I will predict. Okay, हम लोग को इसका आंसर क्या मिला? ग्रेटर देन इक्वल्स टू 0. तो हमने क्या प्रेडिक्ट किया? रेड को हमने पहले से बोला था, बिकॉज मैं एक्चुअली कैटेगराइज्ड वैल्यू है, बट मैंने उसको न्यूमेरिक कन्वर्ट करके रखा था. सो रेड मींस 0. रेड मींस अकॉर्डिंग टू मी 0. व्हाट इज द एक्चुअल वैल्यू? एक्चुअल वैल्यू क्या है? दैट इज अ ब्लू पॉइंट. सो एक्चुअल उसका आउटकम आना चाहिए था -1. आई जस्ट से इट्स 0. सो दैट इज रॉन्गली क्लासिफाइड. मौलिक सर.
Okay, sir.
So right now it is wrongly classified so that I have to update my W. इसलिए हमने W को अपडेट किया. अदरवाइज तो अगर wrongly classified नहीं होता, इन द सेंस ये एरर रेट 0 मिलता मुझे, ये एरर रेट अगर मुझे 0 मिलता, जस्ट फोकस, इसको अगर 0 मिलता ये मुझे, ओके, सो ये 0 मिलेगा मतलब ये पूरा टर्म ही 0 हो जाएगा. ये टर्म 0 होने का मतलब WN + 1 इज इक्वल टू WN. फाइन गाइस, किसी को कुछ प्रॉब्लम? काफी होच-पोच हो गया. सो राइट नाउ फाइनली we have a actually like we just find a new W. हम लोग को एक नया W मिला. So guys, नया W मिलने का मतलब हुआ कि हम लोग एक नया लाइन ड्रॉ करेंगे. Okay, so our model, we will have a new model. Why I say a model? Because हम लोगों ने मॉडल का फॉर्मूला कुछ ऐसा रखा था. Wixi is equals to 0. Why 0? Because this is my threshold. This is my threshold. Let me just put the new value of this W. So क्या मिलेगा? 1/3 x1 1/3 x1 plus 5/6 x2 equals to 0. That's a line formula. There is a new line. That is actually 1/3 x1 plus 5/6 x2 is equals to 0. We just improve our model. Just check. This is the new model. That is a line. एक जो अपना horizontal line था थोड़ा oblique line. Why? Because this is a formula. 1/3 x1 plus 5/6 x2 equals to 0. ओके, नाउ गाइस, हमने किसको ऑलरेडी चेक कर चुके थे हम लोग. सेकंड टाइम अपना लूप चल चुका था. ठीक है, सेकंड टाइम मतलब हमारे पास दो लूप थी, एक आउटर लूप एक इनर लूप. इनर लूप में इसके लिए कर चुका फर्स्टली. ये भाई साहब ने मुझे परफेक्टली मतलब लाइक क्लासिफिकेशन परफेक्ट मिला, तो हमने W सेम यूज किया. सेकंड पॉइंट के लिए वहां पे कुछ प्रॉब्लम आया, हमने W चेंज किया. नाउ वी हैव टू यूज दैट सेम W फॉर दिस x. इस x के लिए उस W को यूज करते हैं. सो व्हाट इज द थर्ड वैल्यू? दैट इज 1/1. okay, 1/1, and next one is actually 1/2. Okay, so now let me just use the W value. What is the value of W? That is 1/35/6. 1/35/6. Okay, so this is the value of W, 1/35/6. Eta we just set 1/3. That's a constant you can consider. So now इस point के लिए काम काज करते हैं. What is the feature value for this point? What is the feature value? Feature value is actually 1/2, 1. 1/2 and 1. So let I just apply Wixi. So 1/2, that is the first feature value, and 1, that's the second feature value. Now what's the W value? That is actually 1/3 multiplied by, like here we have a 5/6. So I have not to worry. जो भी आंसर आएगा, देखो नेगेटिव टर्म कहीं पे भी नहीं है. That means जो भी आंसर आएगा वो greater than equals to 0 होगा. Greater than equals to 0 means what we will predict. Greater than equals to 0 मतलब let me just move to the last slide. Greater than equals to 0 means we will predict a red. We will predict a red. That means we will predict 0. We will predict 0. Oh, why? इसके लिए 0. 0 in the sense that's a red point. And what's the actual point? It's a red. It's a red. So that's actually properly classified. We have to ignore. हम लोग को W change नहीं करना. So we will not change the W. Is it clear, guys? So outcome is actually 0. देखो यहाँ पे भी outcome में हमने पहले से 0 लिख दिया था. That means it's a red. और prediction भी red है. So let me just use the same W for the next point, 1 and 1/2. Let me just use the same point for 1 and 1/2. So I will just write down, this is the W, 1/3 multiplied by 1 plus 5/6 multiplied by 1/2. Guys, only positive terms are there, तो उनका summation करने की जरूरत नहीं है. Answer is greater than 0. We will predict 0. We will predict red. That means we have not to change the weight vector. Why? Because still the outcome is actually red. still the outcome is red, so we have to change the value actually. Okay, इसके लिए भी वैल्यू चेंज करने की जरूरत नहीं है. So W will be same. So 4 बार हम लोग काम कर चुके, चारों पॉइंट को विजिट कर चुके. So inner loop is done. Inner loop is done. But guys, ये भी जैसे
सर हमने 5/6 ढूंढा तो फिर से 1/3 क्यों यूज किया सर पहले xi की जगह पे?
नहीं, xi की जगह पे नहीं सर. xi वैल्यू इज actually this is the xi value. This is x1 value. This is x2 value. पर हम लोग फॉर्मूला क्या यूज कर रहे थे सर?
wi xi.
तो पहली वैल्यू आपको इस वेक्टर से लेनी है. व्हाट इज द फर्स्ट वैल्यू? हियर वी हैव 1/3 एंड देन यू हैव टू कंसीडर दिस. मतलब जैसे i की वैल्यू 1 होगी तो फर्स्ट फीचर के साथ आपको 1/3 को मल्टीप्लाई करना है, सेकंड फीचर्स के साथ आपको 5/6 को मल्टीप्लाई.
सर 1/3 तो हमने एज्यूम किया था ना सर, तो उसके साथ तो रॉन्ग वैल्यू आई थी, तो फिर से क्यों हम वो यूज?
वी जस्ट अज्यूम दिस थिंग. हमने वेट वेक्टर अज्यूम किया था 0. 1/3 सर इटा की वैल्यू थी, तो इटा वैल्यू मैंने चेंज ही नहीं किया. हमने पहले ये वेक्टर यूज किया था. मैं एक बार वापस आता हूँ अपने स्लाइड पे, अगर ये प्रॉब्लम हो रहा है तो ठीक है. जस्ट फोकस ऑन दिस स्लाइड. या जस्ट फोकस ऑन दिस साइड. देखो जितने भी फीचर्स है, जितने भी फीचर्स अवेलेबल है, उन सब के लिए एक एक वेट अलग है. ओके, तो फीचर अगर आपके पास 10 फीचर्स है, देन गाइस आपके पास 10 लाइक जो अपना W वेक्टर होगा, वेटेड वेक्टर होगा, उसमें 10 वैल्यूज आनी चाहिए. सो हर एक के लिए एक वेट, x1 का खुद का वेट, x2 का खुद का वेट, xn का खुद का वेट. ओके, सो यहाँ पे हमारे पास दो वैल्यूज, यहाँ पे हमारे पास दो फीचर वैल्यू थी, x1 एंड x2. x1 एंड x2 दो फीचर वैल्यू थी. तो हमारे पास वेक्टर में लाइक वेट वेक्टर के अंदर भी दो वैल्यू होगी, वेट वेक्टर के अंदर भी दो वैल्यू होगी. सो हियर वी हैव टू वैल्यूज फ्रॉम द वेरी बिगिनिंग. हमने पहले से ही दो वैल्यू रखी. तो ये मैंने ऐसा माना कि लाइक x1 का वेट एक्चुअली 0 है, x2 का वेट मैं 1 कंसीडर करूंगा. ओके, तो पहले पॉइंट के लिए मुझे कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं आया. सेकंड पॉइंट में मुझे एक्चुअली रॉन्गली मतलब क्लासिफिकेशन प्रॉपर नहीं मिला. आई जस्ट गॉट द रॉन्ग क्लासिफिकेशन. सो इसके बाद मैंने वेट चेंज किया तो मुझे आंसर मिला. ओके, आपको x1 का वेट यूज करना है 1/3, x2 का वेट आपको यूज करना है 5/6.
ओके
Fine. So now guys, that is the next value. हम लोग को अभी दोनों में like proper classification मिल चुका है. Okay, मतलब कहीं पे भी प्रॉब्लम नहीं आया. So we will just use the same W. We will just use the same W. But now what is the next thing? Next thing is guys, हम लोगों ने दो लूप लिखी थी, एक आउटर लूप एक इनर. So inner loop ने मुझे like inner loop मैंने टोटल कंप्लीट किया. इनर लूप मैंने टोटल कंप्लीट किया. देयर इज नो प्रॉब्लम एट ऑल. सो नाउ आउटर लूप हम लोग m टाइम्स एग्जीक्यूट करते हैं. आउटर लूप हम लोग m टाइम्स एग्जीक्यूट करते हैं. सो लेट मी जस्ट स्टार्ट फॉर द सेकंड टाइम. सेकंड टाइम आउटर लूप को स्टार्ट करते हैं. सो लाइक once again we will start with this point. Okay, once again we will start with this point. Okay, because outer loop के अंदर inner loop था. Inner loop just says okay, now just use the same concept, actually same weight, and apply and just try to find out the next weight. Okay, next improved weight. Let us just clear all these things and change the color. Fine. So now guys, इस point के लिए what is the coordinate of this point? That is actually -1 -1. Okay, तो -1 के साथ ये coordinates use करें, मतलब ये weight vector use करें. So -1 into 1/3, that is -1/3. -1 into 5/6, that is -5/6. Both are a negative term, so answer will be a negative. Answer will be a negative. और negative के लिए हमने क्या पहले से सोचा हुआ है कि अगर आंसर नेगेटिव मिला, we will just predict blue. आंसर नेगेटिव मिला, we will just predict blue. Blue in the sense what? Blue in the sense -1. तो पहला टर्म क्या बोल रहा है सर? आउटकम इज -1. पहला टर्म बोल क्या रहा है सर? आउटकम इज -1. तो हम लोग को ऑलरेडी -1 मिल रहा है, हम लोग भी प्रेडिक्ट आउट -1 ही कर रहे हैं. हम लोग प्रेडिक्ट -1 कर रहे हैं, एक्चुअल वैल्यू इज -1, सो आंसर इज लाइक वी हैव नॉट टू चेंज द वेट. तो इसके लिए भी वेट चेंज नहीं होगा. What about this point? So let me just find the value, that is -1 and 1/2. Second point की value -1 1/2. So here we have -1. Let I just write over here. -1 into 1/3. Yeah, 1/3 into -1. WIXI, so that is W1 value, X1 value, plus 5/6, that is actually W2 value, into 1/2. 1/2 क्या है guys? That is actually x2 value. Just consider once again. Let me just just recall that -1 and 1/2. Okay, so यहाँ से हमने वो value fetch किया. So now what is the answer? -1/3, and actually the next one is actually 5/12. There is a plus in between. There is a plus. This is plus. So -1/3 and 5/12. So what will be the final answer? -4 plus 5/12. -4 plus 5/12. So final answer is 1/12. So 1/12 is greater than 0. Means we will predict red. We will predict red. But what is the actual prediction? Sorry, what is the actual value? Actual value is blue. As we can see, the actual value is blue. So that means we wrongly classified. Our this weighted vector also once again wrongly classified the outcome. So what we have to do? What we have to do next? Once again, we have to change the value of vectors. Sorry, value of weight vector we have to change. So let me apply the same formula. So what is the actual value of ti? Ti just say -1, and we predict 0. We predict 0. 0 in the sense red. Okay, 0 in the sense red. So हमने red predict किया, and actual value is actually -1. So what is the value of ti minus yi? So that is -1 minus 0, that is -1. So यहाँ पे हम -1 use करेंगे. What is the value of eta? Eta we consider 1/3. So here we just consider 1/3 and 1/3. This is nothing but a W1 and W2. So that is firstly it is 1/3, then 5/6. And what about this? What about the remaining one? That is actually xi value. So xi value is -1. So here we have -1, -1, and 1/3. Just compute that, you will just get the next value, that is 2/3. So 2/3, 2/3, that's my next value. That is my next weight value. So guys, मेरा अभी algorithm या मेरा मॉडल क्या बनेगा? मॉडल की वैल्यू हमने क्या रखी थी? हमारा थ्रेशोल्ड क्या था? थ्रेशोल्ड is equal to 0. So wi is equals to 0. So final मुझे क्या मिला? 2/3 x1 plus 2/3 x2 is equals to 0. Let I just take it common. 2/3 को common करके हम remove कर देते हैं. So we will have actually x2 is equals to -1, otherwise x1 is equals to -x2. Okay, proper नहीं लिखा जा रहा है, but I hope that's clear. x2 equals to -1 or x, like whatever, x2 equal to -1 or x1 equals to -x2. Okay, so that's the final, that's actually improved algorithm. So that is the improved one. Now once again just do one thing, ये हर एक points को once again आप examine करें, you will get the right prediction. Okay, once again आप पूरा repeat करेंगे loop, अब आपको सही से like algorithm outcome मिलता जाएगा. So what's that? So here finally I have actually w value, that is actually 2/3, 2/3. अब हम लोग का inner loop देखिए. So ये w value ये दोनों red point के लिए actually red predict करेगा. Okay, once again आप जब इस blue के लिए करोगे तो आपको blue point मिलेगा, इसके लिए आपको blue point मिलेगा, इसके लिए red point मिलेगा, इसके लिए red point मिलेगा. But the thing is ये inner loop एक बार complete होने के बाद हम ये process कितने टाइम repeat कर रहे हैं? Sir, it depends on outer point. It depends on outer. So outer में हम लोग को दो चीजें रखनी है. Either we have to just put like either we have to just use m value, m in the sense let I say the value of m is 10. So 10 times I have to repeat this process. Otherwise what we can do, otherwise the next thing is we can just write down जब तक कोई आपका error rate 0 नहीं हो जाता. So right now there is no error. Then after the third iteration I can just break from the outer. So that's that. So in this way we can just find the value of actually model. So this is actually neuron. Okay, I know that is a simple line, but that is a neuron. यहाँ पे कोई प्रॉब्लम आया समझ में नहीं आया हो तो बता सकते हैं. विजय सर, मौलिक सर.
No sir, clear.
It's fine. But guys, still what we did, हमने एक स्टैंडर्ड चीज मान के चला था कि in our neuron there is no bias. Okay, there is no bias, there is no y-intercept actually. In the sense starting से ही ये जो मैंने लाइन लिया था, ये जो लाइन लिया था उसमें हमने स्टार्टिंग से मतलब हमने ऐसा कंसीडर किया था wixi is equals to 0, wixi is equals to 0, हमने ये मान के चला था. ठीक है, but consider कभी काफी टाइम वहां पे बायस इंक्लूडेड होता है. So your line will be something over here. आपकी लाइन यहाँ पे होगी स्टार्टिंग. Then what you have to do, you have to transfer, like you have to just transform your line from this point to something over here. Okay, मान लो ये मेरा line, just एक मिनट, like just like remove this line. This is not a proper one. Starting में अगर मान लो मैं कोई line develop करूँ, but there is a bias. So consider this is my first line. This is my first line. So what we have to do, you have to just take this line from here and आपको यहाँ पे वो line को transfer करना पड़ेगा, and you have to just find the first model. After that your bias may be 0. then we have to just change the model to this one. After that, this is the proper model. Okay, so इस तरीके से वो like w change होता जाएगा. But consider starting में अगर कुछ bias value available है, then we have to deal with that bias. We have to deal with that bias also. That we will learn in a few minutes, but this is the concept how this perceptron algorithm works. So that is just how to train a single neuron. But just consider one thing: the single neuron is like an SVM. Single neuron is like an SVM. You just draw a line, nothing else. Just draw a simple line. But guys, it is not a good thing for actually in some cases this algorithm is not enough to predict the data. In short, if you have some data set which is not linearly separable, otherwise let I just consider this thing. Yeah, fine, let I consider this thing. In this example, this will not work properly. Okay, what about this one? Yeah, fine. ये हम लोग थोड़े टाइम के बाद bias term discuss करेंगे. But now finally, okay, now पहले bias term discuss कर लेते हैं, and after that we will just go through the problems. Okay, so now the next thing is this is a boundary for a single neuron. This is a boundary for a single neuron. So now what we completed, we just know one thing: wixi is equals to something, and we just consider wi and xi. But maybe there are some bias value. Maybe there are some bias value, and that bias value, let us just consider that is theta. Okay, there are some bias value, and that is known as actually theta. And guys, अगर मेरे पास bias value नहीं था and मेरे पास सिर्फ दो points थे, दो feature values थे, so हम wixi equals to 0 consider करके चलते थे. So my line algorithm will be wixi plus w2x2 w1x1 plus w2x2 is equals to 0. This is my line algorithm. But अगर मैं आपको बोलूं sir there is some bias value, so what is my requirement? I want to just fold a bias value in my weight vector. Okay, मुझे अपने bias value को भी weight vector के अंदर ही fold करना. So now अभी अगर मेरे पास bias value available है, so what we can do, अब मेरा algorithm change होके कुछ ऐसा हो जाता है: wixi is equal to theta. Okay, is equals to theta. That is nothing but a y-intercept, nothing else. That is nothing but a y-intercept. अब जैसे recall करिए अपने school days, y equal to mx plus c था. Y is equal to mx plus c. अब mx को मैं left hand side ले लूँ तो y minus mx equal to c. What is that c? That is nothing but an y-intercept. In a similar way, we have to just write down wixi is equal to theta if the bias presents. Okay, if the bias is available. Okay, so wixi in the sense w1x1 plus w2x2 is equal to theta. Now let me take an example of the iris data set. So in iris data set, guys, we have actually 4 feature value. Okay, so ये जो wixi वाला हम formula लिखेंगे, wixi वाला जो हम formula लिखेंगे, उसमें I की value कहाँ से कहाँ तक होगी? So I will start with 1 and up to 4 because we have actually 4 feature value. So I की value 1 से लेके 4 तक होगी, and इसके equal to अब तक हम 0 रखते थे. Right now there is a theta because that's a bias value. So now what we have to do, अब इस bias value को कैसे भी करके मुझे इसके अंदर set कर दूँ. So what I will do, मैं इस theta को left hand side में लेके आता हूँ. So theta को left hand side लेके आएंगे, then it will be something like this, like sigma I equals to 1 to 4 wixi minus theta is equals to 0. Wixi minus theta is equal to 0. Now let us just consider this. Let us consider w5. Why w5? Because already मेरे पास wixi में I की value 1 से 4 तक था. So मैं ऐसा कुछ variable consider कर रहा हूँ जिसके अंदर like w5 का value minus theta. w5 का value minus theta. So my equation, ये जो मेरा equation था, it will look like this. It will look like this: w1x1 plus w2x2 plus w3x3 plus w4x4. And what about this theta? Minus theta की जगह हमने क्या consider किया? I just consider like minus theta मतलब w5. So w5. And guys, उसके साथ किसी भी चीज का multiplication नहीं है. Let I just multiply it with 5 x5. But now the question is, sir, आप ये x5 कहाँ से लेके आए? हमारे पास iris data set में सिर्फ 4 features थे. So let me consider the value of x5. Let me consider the value of x5 is equals to is equals to 1. Okay, x5 की value by default में 1 ले लेता हूँ. So now what will be my equation? मेरा equation क्या बैठेगा guys? इसके हिसाब से मेरा equation कुछ इस तरीके से हो जाएगा. Like sigma, अगर आपके पास 4 features है, then my equation will be like sigma I equals to 1 to 5, and here I will just write down wixi is equals to 0. मतलब अगर मेरे पास n features है, then I have to just work from 1 to n plus 1. But what about that x n plus 1 feature value? Always you have to consider the fifth value or n plus 1 feature value as 1. अब ये डायग्राम पे एक बार वापस आ जाते हैं. So this is actually x1 to xm. तो उन सब के लिए कोई ना कोई एक वेक्टर वैल्यू थी, w1 to wm, and here the next feature is always 1, and here we have a bias term. Okay, but bias term को मैंने as a weight vector ही consider कर लिया, वेट वेक्टर वैल्यू ही कंसीडर कर लिया. सो इन फ्यूचर मुझे बायस वैल्यू फाइंड आउट करनी है, बिकॉज मुझे अपनी लाइन को ट्रांसफर करना है. तो एक पोजीशन से दूसरी पोजीशन पे मुझे उसको मूव करना है, देन आई नीड दैट इंटरसेप्ट वैल्यू. ओके, सो मुझे वो भी फाइंड आउट करना ही पड़ेगा इफ इट इज अवेलेबल फ्रॉम द इनिशियल स्टेज. तो मुझे उसको भी आगे लेना पड़ेगा, तो उसको भी फाइंड आउट करना है. एज पर द एरर रेट आई हैव टू चेंज दैट वैल्यू आल्सो, तो उसको भी वेट वेक्टर के अंदर ही रख देते हैं. सो दिस प्रोसेस इज नोन एज एक्चुअली लाइक फोल्डिंग ए बायस इनटू वेट, folding a bias into actually weight vector. So that's that. Okay, so that is the thing, how to just revise or how to achieve the single neuron with actually bias learning. But now guys, finally still the conclusion is there. Still the conclusion is there कि सर ये जो भी चीज मुझे मिल रही है, it just represent a single line. Okay, वो मुझे एक सिंपल सा लाइन ही ड्रॉ करके दिया. Okay, in short, neuron is nothing but an SVM. Neuron is nothing but an SVM. Just read this one. Just read this box. Like the single MP neuron is not better than a linear classifier. In 1969, they just proved this thing. 1969 में इन लोगों ने ये prove कर दिया था. Okay, now the another thing is, sir, we know line is not actually a good model to just separate some special cases. Otherwise, it is just not used to separate a non-linearly separable data set. Just recall our data set जहाँ पे हमारे पास इस तरीके से कुछ पॉइंट्स थे. ओके, और इसके आउटर में कुछ अलग कलर के पॉइंट्स थे, और इसको हमने लीनियर एसवीएम से सेपरेट करने की ट्राई की थी. सो वी आर नॉट एबल टू सेपरेट दिस पॉइंट्स. ओके, हम लोग को यहाँ पे प्रॉब्लम्स आया था, तो हम लोगों ने कुछ लाइक कर्नल ट्रिक्स लर्न किए थे. अदरवाइज गाइस, व्हाट वी कैन डू, अगर कर्नल ट्रिक्स अप्लाई नहीं करने, देन यू हैव टू जस्ट गो विद एनसेम्बल मॉडलिंग. Just use more than one SVMs. Just use more than one SVMs to just actually classify the type of data set values. Okay, so in a similar way, just recall your engineering days. This is nothing but a truth table. So x1 and x2 are the points. दोनों की value 0, then outcome is 0. दोनों में से एक 0, then outcome is 1. दोनों में से एक 0, sorry, then दोनों में से एक 1, then output is 1. दोनों 1, then actually output is 0. This is nothing but an XOR table. Okay, XOR table. XOR in the sense को एक वैल्यू 1 है तो आउटपुट 1, दोनों 0 या दोनों 1, मतलब दोनों ऑफ है तो ऑफ, दोनों यस है देन ऑफ. मतलब दोनों इनपुट, दोनों सप्लाई हो रही है तो भी आउटपुट नहीं आएगा, दोनों सप्लाई बंद हो रही है तो भी आउटपुट नहीं आएगा, दोनों में से एक सप्लाई चालू है देन आउटपुट. तो इस तरीके से कुछ काम हो रहा है. तो इस तरीके से ये डेटा सेट को अगर हम सिंगल न्यूरल नेटवर्क अदरवाइज अपने परसेप्ट्रॉन एल्गोरिथम से क्लासिफाई करने की ट्राई करें, वी विल गेट दिस टाइप ऑफ डेटा. ओके, हमको इस तरीके से कुछ आउटकम मिलेगा ना. वी कैन जस्ट चेक ये wrongly classified data है, this is wrongly classified data, ये दोनों चीज wrongly classified है. Okay, so accuracy down हो जाएगा भाई इस तरीके से. So what we have to do, what is the solution? The solution is actually we have to just learn a non-linear pattern. Okay, so guys, we have two types of solution. We have two solutions. Either you can ensemble, like you can just apply the ensemble modeling, otherwise we can just apply actually a kernel trick. So SVM में apply करते थे. So here we will just do the same thing. हम लोग यहाँ पे same algorithms ही apply करेंगे. Either we will include a kernel trick or we will just apply the ensemble modeling. But the terminologies will be little bit different.